Have you ever encountered a hurdle with launching or growing your business? Listen, there are two things that run a business, the back end and your soft skills.
Telling you right now, if these aren't in place, you'll lose clients and you'll lose money. You don't want that? Well, you're in the right place.
Hey, I'm Dana.
Hey, I'm Sarah.
We're your hosts of the Entrepreneur Encounter, and we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes glance into our businesses, give you genuine feedback, tips and tricks, plus occasionally bring on guests that care about supporting you to grow your business organically and nurturing authentic relationships. Are you ready? Hey friends, welcome to the Entrepreneur Encounter podcast. Today we're diving into one of the most critical conversations for entrepreneurs, and that's how to build wealth strategically by managing cash flow, leveraging relationships, and protecting your business. And I know that's something that even myself, when we had our pre-recording call, did not think about the protection part of the business. So I personally am super excited to welcome our guest to chat with us today. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So would you take a few moments to kind of introduce yourself and share a little bit about your story?
Absolutely. So I'm originally from South Africa. I grew up in South Africa during an interesting time in the country's history. I was a young man when everything changed. Governments changed from like the apartheid government to actually having their first democratically held elections, which was quite a wild ride. See that as a young man. I mean, one of those things that, as far as an entrepreneur, has really helped me growing up during that time and experiencing that is that I got so comfortable being uncomfortable. And that actually helped with sports too, because there was a lot of uncertainty. Nobody knew what was going on. Nothing as in the media, of course. On the ground, it was like there was a lot of uncertainty. Nobody knew what was happening, what was coming next, that kind of thing. Country didn't have a flag, literally. It's kind of funny that now thinking about it. But that really helped me as an entrepreneur. I mean, I came to the United States in 2001 and backpack, suitcase, a couple of $100, sense of humor, sense of adventure. I played in a sports league up here until 2007. And while I was doing that, I was one of those guys on the team bus and on the team plane reading books about business and investing. I was that guy, not the guy playing Texas Hold'em or video games. I was the book guy. And I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which then completely changed how I look at money, wealth, business, education, that kind of stuff. And I took action. I bought my first investment property and started like my first real estate business as I was playing sports. I figured I got a pretty good opportunity here. I can learn and develop myself and then start building something for my life when I'm done with sports, right?
I love that you had that mindset. I want to pause right there, that you didn't just say, I'm going to play sports for the rest of my life, which is what we hear often. You took action about, all right, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. Let's diversify.
Yep. You're literally one injury away from your life being flipped upside down. And I see it constantly. I mean, I work with a lot of other professional athletes in my business too. Nobody thinks about this, but I was like, look, I've got a golden opportunity here. I'm not going to waste this. So I bought my first property. I put the tenants in there, collected the rent, paid all of the bills, and there was cash flow after that. And then I started to work on the real estate business on the side. I also worked to learn for a friend that had a real estate company. So one of the lessons in the book is Robert Kiyosaki talks about how the rich, they don't work for money, they work to learn. So I'm like, as hard as this is, I'm going to try that. And I was unemployable at that stage. But anyway, I just worked to learn and learn the business and learn the property management in the business and so forth. And as I was doing this too, I started to learn about all the other things that I didn't even think about as starting a business. Cash flow management, having a place to warehouse your capital, protecting your business, and also creating your own banking system for your business so that your business always has access to liquidity, capital when you need it, and you don't have to go to a bank begging all the time, which sucks. I learned all about that. And this friend of mine also, he came from a very wealthy family. So he shared with me what they actually do within their operating businesses, where they position money, and then also where they then invest their money, which was fascinating. So I basically just modeled and copied that. I did that. And then I started to help other business owners teach just what I'm doing and what I've learning. I love that, the learn, do, teach model, where you learn something, you do it yourself, you do it over and over, and you have success with it, and then you teach others how to do it. And then I started my business, Producers Wealth, which our mission is to elevate the financial well-being of business owners and their families, because I started to realize, wow, there is a massive disconnect in the financial services world and the business entrepreneurial world. It hit me like a ball of lightning that, wow, actually like 99% of advice, financial advice that is out there is terrible for business owners. It's geared towards the general population, but as an entrepreneur or business owner, it's terrible. It's the worst advice you can get. So I looked at this and I'm like, this is a massive problem because number one, there's no alignment because you're actually like counter opposite with each other in the financial services world as a business owner and then financial advisors, because their business depends on assets under management, money, to give your money to them to manage. And your world depends on having your money, investing it in your business, hiring more employees, incorporating technologies. It's kind of like you're at odds with each other, right? So I looked at this and I'm like, there's got to be a way to create a business to help actual entrepreneurs and business owners and give them the advice that the top A players in our world actually use and do, which is completely opposite of what everybody's told. And as I did that, then I started a podcast too called Cashflow Ninja, where I just interviewed business owners and investors. And it's just been fascinating. That helped Producers Wealth a lot, as you guys know, with the podcast of just sharing our message, our philosophy, just getting our thinking out there, which is contrarian to everything that most people hear. But that's me in a nutshell of about a couple of minutes.
I'm going to touch on a few things. We hear about investing, and that's my word of the year is I want to invest. But it's not just stocks, real estate, or businesses. It's with your podcast, even that, you're investing in your network. And can you explain how relationships play a role in that wealth building journey?
Absolutely. I actually did a rant on what capital actually is, because when you say capital, everybody just thinks money because we have been programmed to think of just capital as money. But it's like, no. They're like intellectual capital. Your mind and your ideas, that is worth more. I mean, just read Think and Grow Rich. He's telling you in the book. Like there's been more gold mined from the minds of men and women than from anything else, right? So he's telling you that in the book, intellectual capital is extremely important. Relationship capital. I mean, can you think of bigger gold than that? Actually, a mentor told me once that the formula to get financial capital is to take your intellectual capital and times it by your relationship capital. And that will result in more financial capital. But most people are just so focused just on the money and the financial. That's where their focus is and their actions are, that they completely skip the other two. So to your point, the best investments that a business owner and an entrepreneur can make, and everybody listening to this knows this, is number one, yourself, your skill sets, your capabilities, how you can provide value to the rest of the world. And then the second part of that is your network, your relationships, your team. I'll say this, I've invested in my team already heavily this year and over the past 12 months, there's no better investment. For me, there's not a piece of real estate that I can buy that'll ever match just what we've accomplished and the growth in our team and what that's doing for our business. So I think people need to think of wealth and capital in a completely different way and realize that it's not just money. Money is simply just a byproduct of all of this. And if you focus on the things that actually matter, your knowledge, your intellectual capital, your skill sets, your capabilities, people call it your unique ability, and then your relationships, your team, and your networks. I mean, if you focus there, I think you're already going to be ahead of everyone else just by doing that.
Yeah, you definitely got to invest in your team, because I've seen it time and time again where people treat them as okay, well, they're there, but no, you got to treat them more than just a number, because they're the ones that are going to help you grow your wealth as well. That's something else to think about too.
Especially A players. Everybody, MC, how do you find A players and how do you keep them and how do you keep them happy? And we could do all the fluffy bunny stuff and talk about vision and all that kind of stuff. But if you really take care of them and really create a system for them where they're very well rewarded, they're part of this, they're part of the growth, you grow, they grow, and you bring other elements into it in bonus and incentive structures, and then also develop them. if anybody comes on board into my business, they know that they're going to be challenged just from a personal growth standpoint. The right people will love it, and the wrong fit people will say, no, this is too much. But there's no option for you. You're going to have to grow and grow with us and continue to develop yourself because that's part of our culture.
I love that that's at the forefront. We had a podcast guest recently who kind of talked about a very similar thing of investing in his team. He brought someone in to see why he was losing staff or team members. And long story short, did this whole interview process, and it ended up being he was the problem. He didn't realize that he was micromanaging, and thankfully he took it essentially with a grain of salt and accepted it. And he was like, all right, I'm going to leave and let you guys do your thing. And by investing in the space for his team, the A players, to do what they know to do, his business thrived. And all he had to do was essentially send himself home, which is amazing because sometimes I think as like business owners, we're so fine-tuned, sometimes, like you said, focused on the money instead of focusing on the other wealth building things like our network, like our team members, like whatever else it is, and educating ourselves, that we forget, and we just have to step back and see that bigger picture of, oh, it is working. The process is working. I need to get out of my own way.
Right. And that kind of ties into the mindset too, that it's fascinating to me. We human beings, number one, is we are strange creatures. We're fascinating. Number two, entrepreneurs and our business owners, we're fascinating. It amazes me that we look at every other place to get bigger returns on our money once we've started to make money in business. It just amazes me. I have conversations all the time and people reach out to me. They're like, hey, should I buy like real estate? I'm like, dude, you doubled your business last year. Like, should you be buying? No, keep doubling down in your business. You're like crushing it. Why are you even thinking about real estate right now? Your business is exploding. Like the return on just the money that you've put back in your business, we're talking multiples here, which it's not an 8% average return in the stock market. So I think like that's the big thing. I would also say this, when it comes to actual money and capital, the financial capital for a business, when you start a business, you're all in. If you're listening to this, you're all in. You got to be. And maybe some of us were born with a silver spoon in our mouth, or we come from a rich family, and that's okay too. I mean, that's fine. But most people, you bootstrap it. You start it up and you're all in because you have to be, as far as time, energy, resources. So when you're starting out, you literally look like a broke person on a financial statement. You basically look homeless.
All day, every day.
It's funny. Nobody wants to talk to you then. Financial advisors, legal people, tax people. Nobody really wants to talk to you because you're not their right fit client yet because you look terrible on a financial statement, right? But then you keep grinding, you put your head down, and eventually your business survives, which is the first step. You're like, wow, this didn't blow up like everything else I tried, like the 10 other things before this. This is great. And then the business starts to actually become profitable, and now you're making money. And of course, now everybody's trying to bang down your door, right? The banker, the financial advisor, the lawyer, the tax person. So what does the financial advisor tell a business owner at that point? Let's diversify some money outside of your business. Give me some of that money and I'll put it in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Now, what just happened right there? You've invested your money back into your business to grow this and actually get this growth off the ground. Now, you've taken your money and you're investing in other people's businesses. Like, I love Apple. I'm recording this on Apple. I have an Apple iPhone. Steve Jobs, amazing. Tim Cook running that company, great. But I don't have to give them money to grow their business. My business actually needs my own money to grow. So that's one of the things that I'm like, when I saw that and I just stepped back and I looked at this and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then the other thing that then comes into it is because you're taking money out of the business, which you've reinvested and grown the business, now you're basically in the doldrums. You're just plugging along. There's no more exponential growth. The energy is almost taken out, right? Because you're not reinvesting that money into more marketing, bringing in AI, technology, getting more team members, and so forth. So that's like the biggest thing. And then the other thing too that it does to a business is if you're listening to this and you're an entrepreneur or business owner, if I ask you, what's your highest revenue month? Without blinking, you'd be like, oh, it's May. May is our highest revenue month every year. And it might be 1 or 2 months, but without even thinking. At the same time, when I ask you what's your lowest revenue month annually, without blinking, you're probably like, oh, like for us, it's August because everybody's on the beach, getting ready for Labor Day weekend, spending money. They don't want to talk about money. Got it. That's good. We call it the seasons of cash flow in a business. So the summer is the peak, the high, your highest revenue month. Pretty simple to manage your business, right? Paying overheads, pay payroll, not a big deal when you've got a lot of money coming in that month. On the flip side, in the winter, a lot more challenging. Paying overheads, fixed overheads, payroll, that kind of thing. In the seasons of cash flow, rather, your summer is the peak, then it starts to taper off, it slows down, it goes into the fall, it treads water a little bit, and then it completely just dies down. You're in your lowest month in the winter. Then you need, obviously, capital to manage your business then. And then to get to the spring is where you start new marketing campaigns, new ideas. What are we going to do this year? What are our goals this year? What do we bring in? Do we need to incorporate AI? Do we need to hire people? And then because of the investments that we made there financially, that takes us back to our next summer and to our peak. So there's a whole cycle of this. When you take money away from your business, you're struggling with cash flow management. What happens to most business people is they have to go to the bank and loan money. They got to get a line of credit, or you get stuck in that trap. You go to the bank, you pay them back, and you're always just trying to stay ahead because you've diversified so much out of your business. Now, again, there will be a time and a place to diversify down the line, and there's very good ways to do it, efficient ways. But initially, if your business is like you're 500,000 to 10 million bucks, you should be investing in your business because there's no other investment that could match the returns that you will get in your business. If there is, then you're probably doing it wrong.
I feel like there's a lot of nuggets in that of investing in your team, but that can still open a giant can of worms of what's the best way to invest in your business? What do you do first? Is it educating yourself if you're a solopreneur or early stage entrepreneur, which is typically who listens to our podcast? Or do you invest in the means of where you want to go? For instance, as an example, I have launched a subscription service. It's called the Style Pin Collection. So do I invest in that by getting a sales team member because I want to reach that revenue goal? Or do I invest in just me and the tech and whatever else? I'm sure it's unique for every person, but what strategies or guidance do you give someone who's early on and figuring out, well, which investment is better right now? I can't be the only one wondering because there are so many different ways to invest. So what's the first step of investing in your business to get you to that long-term goal?
So if you're listening to this and you're a solopreneur and you're starting, here's what I would recommend. This is what I did. The first thing that I did was I started to get a skill, one skill, and I invested the money in that. And that skill is going to blow up the business, which will create other problems, which are good to have. So one of the skills that I focused on was marketing, because I figured listen, if I can get attention and get people to our platform, it's not going to be perfect, which leads to the next problem, which is the sales. That's the number one skill, because if you're starting out, you're trying to get sales, but you're not going to get any sales if nobody knows about you, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so you have to figure out the marketing side of it. And then now on the marketing, don't try to do everything. Pick one thing, just one thing, and become really, really good at it. For some people, it's like Facebook ads, when Facebook ads are hot. I know someone that's all they did. They double down, spend all their time on that, and they became so good that they can turn it on and just have an influx of leads, more than they know what to do with, and then turn it off. That's what they did. For some people now, it might be TikTok, if TikTok's still around.
It is still around as of the time of this recording. It is still here.
I don't know. But that might be a great avenue to create like viral TikToks and run ads. I think you can do ads on TikTok now. Not a lot of people have figured that out. Other things like podcasting is obviously a great medium because it doesn't compete with anything else. When you do YouTube videos, people have to watch it, so they can't work at the same time and watch your videos, drive in their car and watch the video. There's probably people doing all of this, but they shouldn't. I'm now dating myself, but I remember back in my day, Google AdWords was the big thing. People crushed it on Google, and then it became Bing, and then it was like social media, and then it was Facebook ads. But I guess my point is try to figure out where your audience is. Your audience might not even be on TikTok. It might be on like Pinterest, for example. There's people crushing it on Pinterest. So figure out where they are and then become an expert in marketing on that platform to them. And that's how you're going to generate leads. And then the second part then is, if you are a business owner, if you're a solopreneur, you have to be able to sell, which is just communications. Communicating a message that people resonate with and make them want to buy whatever product or service you have. And if you communicate clearly to the problem that they have, obviously that's going to be much easier because people like to try and solve pain first before achieving pleasurable outcomes. But that's what I would do. There's a concept of skill stacking. I think it was the guy that wrote the Dilbert comics that talked about it, of like doing one skill, marketing, for example, and becoming really good at that. And now you know how to generate a lot of leads. And then the second skill, which you stack on top of the marketing, is then sales and persuasion or communication, public speaking, that kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden you can get attention and you can communicate a clear message that make people want to do business with you. Now you're very, very dangerous. And then eventually when you get to operations, as you master those, you can bring people in to help you and then hand it off. Because eventually you want to run the system. You don't want to work inside of the system. But that's how I started. I've been in mastermind groups with folks and they're like, how do you even know how to do that? Like, aren't you like running the business? I'm like, yeah, but I actually did that at one point before I handed it off to someone. So I know that system and now I manage the system. So I think that's the advice that I would give to people. If you're a solopreneur starting, that's where you should be spending your time, is a skill, marketing, and then sales. And now you're getting attention, closing sales, growing the business, and now you can actually take that money and bring in other people to help you. I wouldn't do it too soon. I've seen people that they just hire people right away. And I'm like, you're not even really profitable yet. This isn't like a tech startup where there's an investor just throwing money at you. You know, it's actually your money, what you got to use to do other things at that point.
Hey there, listeners. Ever feel like you're struggling to connect with customers or lead your team effectively? That's where soft skills come in.
Entrepreneur Encounter isn't just another podcast. We're a community dedicated to helping early stage entrepreneurs like you master the soft skills that make or break a business.
Technical skills are important, but without communication, collaboration, and confidence, your business might never get off the ground to the next level.
In our membership, Dana and I share actionable insights and tips to help you nurture the soft skills you need to thrive.
Give you access to bonus content, workshops, and a network of like-minded entrepreneurs who are all on the same journey.
We'll teach you how to boost your confidence,
become a leader who inspires and motivates your team,
navigate conflict like a pro,
to resolve disagreements without drama and build stronger relationships,
communicate clearly and concisely, get your message across, build trust, and close the deal.
If you're ready to take your business to the next level, join the circle by clicking the link in the show notes.
Wouldn't you want to learn that skill too? Because obviously, when you start building a team and you go to train your team, and if you don't know those skills, how would you train them? So that is a better way, in my opinion, to learn it yourself. So then you learn, get good at it, and then you can train somebody else.
See, I'm intrigued that that's where your brain went. My brain went to, I want to know how to do it so I know if my team member is trying to swindle me. And like not take advantage, almost like knowing how to do bookkeeping, but trusting my bookkeeper to do it, but not completely being blindsided if all of a sudden I don't have money. I want to know where and why it's gone.
And I would also say, like, even if you use eventually outside companies, and by the way, this is a hard lesson I learned. You got to do some of your ad stuff in-house because the best people that do that stuff, they don't do it for other people. They're making too much money running their own stuff, which is kind of funny. It took me a long time to figure that out, by the way. But yeah, you learn those skills, those core skills, because you don't want to be reliant on an entire system of your business to an outside person that could go away at any given point in time. And then think about if you outsource all your marketing and now all of a sudden your marketing partner is just like, I don't want to do it anymore. Or they retire or whatever. And now what do? Find someone else. It might not be as good as the other person. It's going to impact your business negatively.
I love all that. I feel like I could talk about that for a whole nother episode. So you will probably be asked to come back to talk about communication on that specific thing.
You know, when it comes to the money systems too, that's the other system. So when you get your marketing, you have your sales, and then you have your operations, and then there's finance. And you just brought up a really good point about the bookkeeping, about knowing and understanding where the money is going. As the person running your business, whatever title you want to give yourself, CEO, you're the CEO of that system. That is eventually, as you get there, one of your core skills as a CEO. You have to understand how the money is flowing into your company, your income statement, your balance sheet. I believe in my ability to figure anything out, and anybody can figure out anything. It's not hard. If people try to make it sound hard, it's because they try to make them sound smart so that you think that you need them. It's not that hard. You just need to understand how the money is flowing in your company, where the money is going, what it takes to operate it, how much income is coming in, how much revenue you can drive. And then you can create financial systems. And this is a lot of what we teach. If people are making 500,000 and up, now you can create a system for your business. So what's the system? You can actually put money in a vehicle, and we call it infinite banking, but it's like a very specifically structured and designed life insurance policy where you throw your cash in. It's guaranteed to grow tax-free. Most people think of life insurance as somebody needs to die in order for somebody else to benefit. What the ultra wealthy does is you take these vehicles, they put money in there because it's guaranteed to grow tax-free, and it has a death benefit if anything happens to you, the business owner. And it also has a disability rider in there if anything happens to you, the business owner. And you can access that money at any given point in time to then become the bank to your own business, so that you always have access to money when your business needs it, because you have guaranteed access. And now you have a whole system of this little bank that you've set up where you now warehouse your cash. Your business, your bank can loan the money to the business just like a regular bank. Your business pays it back now to your bank, not an outside commercial bank. And you have a cash flow management system, again, to invest in your business, your team, technology, to also have money on hand for managing cash flow at any given point in time during the 4 seasons of cash flow. And at the end of the day, that money's just growing tax-free, and you get to use it whenever you need it. So it becomes a pretty powerful tool as a business owner. So the finances is an important part. And again, like I said, that's the big part where we come in and help folks, because business owners are so think about all the things that you have to think about constantly, every day. I mean, nobody wants to get into our heads. It would think it's Looney Tunes inside there, right?
I had a friend earlier this week say, I don't know how you keep up with all the things that you keep up with, because I was having a venting moment of everything I had to keep track of. And she's like, I could not do that.
Right. So of all the things that you need to keep track of, if you create these systems, eventually it's going to be much easier. And sometimes you just need to step away a little bit. Just take a look at your business, how money is flowing through it. How can I do this more efficiently? And 1 or 2 tweaks, actually, that people make can make a massive, massive difference in your business.
I like the small tweaks can make a massive difference. When we think of change or building wealth, it has to be this big, grand thing, which makes it overwhelming from the beginning. So that's super value packed for anyone listening.
Yeah, it's little things, right? You know, I'm from Africa. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. So you don't try to swallow the whole elephant. So little things, little tweaks that start compounding and adding up can make massive, massive differences. Just that one strategy where you create that financial system with that infinite banking policy that you set up, that one strategy for you as a business owner is going to result 10 years from now that your business is going to grow, you're going to have nice profits, and there's going to be millions of dollars tax-free in your own system that you put in. That one tweak, if you didn't do that, you would have paid millions of dollars out to financial institutions just by borrowing and paying it back, borrowing and paying it back from your local commercial bank. So just that one thing already. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, telling people, because I'm like, this changed my life 15 years ago. They're like, what's the one thing that changed everything for your business? I'm like, that's the one thing.
Yeah.
That's the big thing from a financial standpoint.
So if any of our listeners that want to connect you and get that one thing started, how can they reach out to you and connect?
Thank you. So getwealthyforsure.com, getwealthyforsure.com. I've got a book out that I wrote with all these strategies for business owners.
Oh, nice.
We're giving away the paperback and you only pay for shipping and handling. But the book is called Get Wealthy for Sure, the number one financial strategy for business owners to multiply wealth predictably. So in there, we bust all the lies that's being told to business owners and entrepreneurs. The advice that's terrible, we break it down, what they can actually do, and what their number one financial strategy should be to just multiply wealth predictably. So if they want a free book, just pay for shipping, go to getwealthyforsure.com. My company is called Producers Wealth. If they go to producerswealth.com, we've got so many podcasts and blogs and articles, and we even now have an AI bot, Atlas is his name, that pops up and interacts with people and talks with people, and it's wild. So anyway, that's at producerswealth.com.
Perfect. We'll make sure all that's in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on. This has been a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Remember, soft skills aren't just some fluffy buzzwords that get thrown around in the corporate world. They're the key to unlocking your full potential as a professional and a human being. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself and seek out opportunities to improve your soft skills. Sarah and I have a variety of workshops, online courses, and complimentary clarity calls for you to practice in real time with us. Links are always in the show notes. And be sure to join us next time for more insights, tips, and tricks to help you succeed in your entrepreneur encounter.